Hello again and welcome to this video where we are going to see the whole presentation of the course. We're going to see all the material that's included and how our course is segmented. So the first thing is the introduction. First, I talk a little bit about my background. Then we have the presentation of the course, which is where we are currently. And then we have a section where we have all the important files. For example, here in the downloadable resources, we have all the files that we are going to use throughout the process, the Blender files. We have the external add-ons, the textures, the geometries, and everything that we need to guide us through any stage of the project. So, no matter where we go in the course, we can access and view that specific stage of the process with the files that we have available here. Then come the important links, where we have the links to all the programs and to the websites of the add-ons that we're going to use, and also my networks. And finally, here is the link to the Discord group. Well, in part 1 we are going to start with our project as such. We are going to start modeling the blocking of our character, which is roughly all the geometry of the model. So we are going to start with very basic geometries, creating this silhouette, and we're going to add all the objects as we go along. So here is the order. We start with a general blocking, limbs, hands, head. Then we're going to be collapsing some pieces, polishing the anatomy, and then we'll put all the accessories. So at the end of the blocking, the idea is to have something like this, and it is an extremely important stage because from the very beginning we want to have everything very clear but with a low level of detail. Then we move on to the next stage, which is the detailing stage, where we are already going to take all the objects of our character and we are going to polish them completely. We are going to detail very well the face. We are going to detail very well each piece, making sure that the wrinkles of the fabric are well, polish the metals very well, and add all the details of the surface. For example, the wood grain, the engravings on the sword, etc. So here is the order. We're going to start from the bottom up this time for a change, and we're going to go through all the accessories, detailing them with a high level of detail and with very good quality. Well, then we proceed to the optimization part of the low poly model. We are going to take our high poly model and create a new geometry on top of it with very few polygons, so we can use it in any game engine. This is a necessary optimization process for video game models to allow us to texture and animate them correctly. Here we have the order. It is a little bit shorter and quite technical, but it is a completely necessary process for video game models. Well, then we move on to the UVs part, where we're going to take our model and make some cuts and project them flat onto a 2D texture, like this. And that's how we're going to be able to apply the textures to the surface of the model. It's also a short step, which has a lot of technical aspects, but I'll be showing you what I consider to be the most optimal workflow. Well, in part 5, we come to texturing. Once we have the UVs, we proceed to apply the textures on our model. So, first, there is an introduction to how the PBR workflow works, which is the system we are going to be using for texturing. We are going to do the map bake, where we project all the details of the high poly model onto the low poly model by means of images. Then we are going to see roughly how to do this process in Blender, and then we will assign materials only with color to see how our character will look with blocks of color. And from there, we will start detailing. Let's go through hair, skin, fabrics, metals, which is a pretty interesting process, and all the other objects of our character. And finally, we are going to export the maps, which are the final textures of our character, so we can do the rendering and the presentation. And finally, we have the stage of the presentation of our character, where we are going to grab it and put a skeleton, helped by a semi-automatic program, which makes this process very, very easy, and then we're going to pose it and render him in Marmoset. As an extra, we are going to add some prefabricated animations to it, which has the same program with which we are going to make the bones. At the end, we are going to have a final talk, where we are going to make an account of the whole process we followed, and how we can keep learning on our own to work on new projects. Here, I make several recommendations from my professional experience so that you can also develop as artists. And finally, we have a section with the extra content where we have all the basics of Blender along with information from other courses. And well, that's all that our course includes. Here you can get a clear idea of what we are going to learn. So I hope you enjoy this process and see you in the next videos.